Two saboteurs involved in the recent railway bombing in Poland have fled to Belarus, but Polish services are detaining more people involved in the attempted terrorist attack on the Warsaw-Lublin railway line. Several people have been detained. These individuals are being questioned. The role of each person in this terrorist attack is being determined. This is probably the largest investigation in Polish history. All services are involved, including the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau. Even the American NSA and the European agencies Europol and Interpol have been asked for help. This is another joint action to build common security. This is another action to show that police officers, border guards, and firefighters will cooperate with the military and are cooperating with the military. After saboteurs cooperating with the Russian services almost caused the death of hundreds of Polish train passengers, they fled to Belarus. It is unlikely anyone will be willing to extradite them from there. Let's be reasonable and mature. We know the nature of the Belarusian regime. It is a regime that imprisons thousands of people, including our compatriots, and it is a regime that is already refusing to hand over the identified murderer of a Polish soldier. We can and should expect further incidents. Recent events prove that we live in times when we must pay much more attention to security. The intentions of the Russian Federation remain unchanged, and the events of recent weeks paint a broad picture of potential events that may occur. The European Union has also addressed the issue of the weekend acts of sabotage on the Polish railways.
I start with the Monday's attack on Polish railway track, which highlights the unprecedented risk to European transport infrastructure. Russia's attacks have become increasingly brazen.
Unfortunately, every such incident confirms the pessimistic forecast of the commander of US and NATO forces in Europe. In July, in an interview with the German newspaper Bild, General Alexis Grinkowicz warned that the North Atlantic Alliance countries have about a year and a half to prepare for war with Russia and China. 2027 could be a potential crisis year. Let's be clear. The opinion of the commander-in-chief of NATO forces in Europe is that in 2027, the Russian Federation may attack NATO countries, among them Poland. A few days ago, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk repeated this warning about the impending war in Poland in the pages of Gazeta Wyborcza. General Alexis Grinkowicz, commander of NATO forces in Europe, recently visited Warsaw. I spoke with him and asked him very pointedly whether he could confirm that we should be prepared for serious and possibly dramatic events as early as 2027. The general takes this possibility very seriously. Everything seems to indicate that the attempted attack on trains in Poland is precisely such a step towards full-on war with Russia. The adversary has begun preparations for war. It is building a particular environment here that is intended to undermine public confidence in the government and institutions such as the armed forces and the police, to create conditions conducive to potential aggression on Polish territory. General Kukua shows that we are in a state of danger between an actual threat and war, something that is very difficult for us to name. If we look at digital threats, it is already a state of war. If we look at the area of special services, war. Intelligence, war. If we look at hybrid activities, we are probably already further along. It seems so because the police in Katowice are reporting a probable further attempt at sabotage on the railroads. A break-in into the track monitoring system box and the theft of batteries have been reported there. The Internal Security Agency, among others, is dealing with the matter. But the military is also responding. As part of Operation Horizon, 10,000 soldiers will be sent to guard train tracks. We are presenting Operation Horizon, support by the Polish Armed Forces, pursuant to specific articles on the functioning of the police, security measures, critical infrastructure protection, and joint patrolling. Donald Tusk, in turn, proposed a temporary ceasefire between Poland's major internal political factions. From this place, I would like to appeal for us to hold out at least until 2026, since what happens this year will determine the future for all of us and our homeland. On the same day, at roughly the same time, Tusk's deputy prime minister and head of Polish diplomacy, Radosław Sikorski, attacked opposition-aligned President Karol Nawrocki for his speech on Polish Independence Day. Mr. President, you have the right to your nationalist views. If you want to put them into practice, however, you should have run for the position of Prime Minister. Instead of dealing with the perpetrators, instead of securing Polish infrastructure, Tusk's government's first priority is insulting their political opponents, not the Russian Federation or Vladimir Putin. Our government's reaction is not what it should be, because we are seeing a reaction where the authorities are trying to cover up their helplessness and weakness by attacking the president and the opposition. The Polish authorities have also announced that what happened over the weekend near Garwolin Lublin and Puławy will not go unanswered. The Russian consulate in Gdańsk has already been closed. It was the last such facility operating in Poland. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte assured that he is in constant contact with the Polish authorities, but added that for now, we must wait for the results of the investigation. Hybrid warfare, in which Russia specializes, consists of covert but intensifying attacks against the enemy. This is exactly how the aggression against Ukraine began in 2014, when Crimea was seized by so-called Little Green Men, Russian soldiers in green uniforms without national insignia.